Good afternoon and welcome to my channel. I'm Ezreal the Scribe, and on this channel I discuss topics that have interest such as philosophy, spirituality, the occult, and different aspects of history. And I love driving to places, going places, so occasionally I'll post videos on that. But today's video is part in a series. This is part 3 of spiritual tools in the occult. Today's topic is on tools and shamanistic practices and healing, and so that is what I'll be discussing. If you are interested, stay tuned. Welcome back. And so, as I was discussing, today's topic is on spiritual tools and the occult, centered around shamanism and healing practices and modalities. And so, to kind of get a glimpse at what the shamanistic tools are, is when you think of shamanism, what do you think of? You think of like a Native American shaman, or if you're over in Europe, you might think of a Scandinavian Volga, or a wise woman who is connected to plant medicines. Same with South America, the Taitas, the Curanderas of Mexico. You know, they all have this association of being shamanistic. And so what does that mean? And to kind of get a hindsight of what I've discovered in my travels and working with different modalities, working with different teachers, and just observing different experiences and ceremonies and rituals, I've come to understand that, like, you know, you have Wicca, witchcraft, ceremonial magic over here, and a lot of its emphasis is developed around mechanisms of control or direction of energy or direction of intention. So it's a lot of emphasis of putting things someplace. And in shamanism, it's a little bit of that, but a lot of it has to do around with relationship building. And I'm not talking about like people relationship building. I'm talking about building a relationship with the elements, building a relationship with the plant medicines to where you are able to communicate with them and have this dialogue within and on the spirit planes of working with these different attributes and understanding their healing capabilities, as well as understanding their ability to help unlock doors within so that we can heal and integrate. And modern medicine all comes from the plant kingdom. You know, there is a lot of like man-made chemicals and things like that, but majority of medicine today comes from the plant kingdom. And having that deeper connection to the spirit of the plant, the essence of the plant, it builds that stronger bond, so that when the shaman that works with that medicine, he can share it to others, that relationship, that healing property, so that the person that's partaking can, you know, heal what they need to heal. And so it's a powerful working, and there's so many different levels to it, because there's so many different belief systems. But the core root that I found in Native American and Scandinavian and different tribes that have different shamanistic beliefs is that relationship building. It's pretty powerful. And if you think about it, how you can attribute it to your life, you know, it's like having a deep respect for all things you work with, having a deep respect for fire, having a deep respect for water, having a deep respect for, because it's like how you treat your relationships, your physical, like talking to people, and how you treat it is how you know, the golden rule, which is changing at times. Treat others how you want to be treated yourself, and that's a very that's the original version, which is somewhat very self-centered. And the new version that I learned while working at a, crazy enough, customer service call center, the company adopted a new version, treat others how you would want to be, how they would want to be treated. And what it's doing is it's treating others with respect with who they are. It's brilliant. I mean, they were like number one in customer service, but that's beyond the point. The point is that how you treat others and your relations. You know, they say, to all my relations, thank you. You know, that's a deep respect of giving gratitude to all people that you are in contact with, and they're who they are. So things like that that define shamanism. And so when we think of tools of that, there's a lot of again, different tools that some tools I don't have, but I have seen used, and I'm going to cover that as well. But to get started, I want to go over tools that kind of blend between the shaman's world and the Wiccan world and the witchcraft world, and that's herbalism. Now, so many kitchen witches, so many different you know, witchcraft that use different herbs. They create potions, concoctions to do certain things. That's harnessing the essence of those plants to heal or attribute to one's life. And so one big strong one is sage. And this is white sage. Let me define that. It's not sage, but it's from that kingdom, white sage. And white sage is a very, they call it grandmother sage, and it's very cleansing, it's very purifying, and it's often used to clear away negative as well as old energies. And that is useful if you're feeling, if a stressful situation or a traumatic event has happened in a space. A lot of that excess energy that was dumped during that experience of high stress, high trauma, that was dumped into that room, that space. And to clear it out, kind of like turning on a fan, opening a window, is using grandmother sage. She will cleanse that space of that energy and clear it out. It's a very powerful tool. It's used for house cleansing as well as cleansing the body. If you have had a very stressful experience and you've had a lot of like traumatic stuff around you happen, that residual energy you could be holding on to. So this will help kind of clear away that negative energy. Now, another tool in the shamanistic tool bag is rocks, crystals, having a relationship with the different attributes of rocks. Like selenite, they make selenite wands that are really huge that clear the auric field. They have that high resonant of energy to do that, and many crystals have different properties that were passed down through word that they carry this type of energy, and that's where a lot of you read online, this stone has this magical property, this stone has this magical property. Well, how did they come up with that the stone has this property? Well, it took a shaman or a healer or someone that had that relationship with that stone for so long to pass that wisdom on, and it carried on through traditions where people share it. Okay, so another useful tool along with grandmother sage is incense. Not only is it a way to create a bond with air energy, same with the Wicca and witchcraft, but it also helps create the space that you're working with in that ceremony. And one powerful incense is a resin that it's white copal. If you can get a hold of white copal, they say grandmother sage clears and purifies, but white copal brings in the light. It brings in that healing, bright energy. And white copal is another, is very popular with the curanderas of Mexico and South America. You'll see it in Catholicism. They'll have like that cistern going back and forth, or not cistern, but that incense gadget that is everywhere. And with resins, you can use charcoal. They sell these little charcoal things. I would get like a set of barbecue tongs and hold it and then light it, because then it's easier to deal with. Okay, so those are some of the basic things. Now, going deeper into like practices of shamanic work, healing, and I've seen many taitas during like ayahuasca ceremonies and whatnot. They'll use different tools, and as well as plant medicines to help healing in that ceremony. And one of these is, this is a basic, it's a kind of like when you think of bellows for a fire, this is a fire tending tool. It will, you can keep a fire going, because many ceremonies, shamanistic, they always have a fire. And one, fire helps you to focus on the integral work. It keeps your mind captivated and away from the shadows at night. And so this is a great tool for keeping the fire going. But many taitas in South America will have one of these, but they'll have feathers all over them. And it changes it to become like a spiritual cleansing tool. And and then the ones that I've seen that taitas have, and taita is another name for padre. It's kind of like but in the South American sense with ayahuasca and spiritual plant medicines. And the ones they have are made out of like a giant leaf that kind of spreads out, but it looks almost just like this. And they call it a waida, but it when you do this with it, it makes a sound, but it's also kind of like a selenite wand. It cleanses the energy, and they'll sweep down through your auric energy field and clear out anything that's blocking in that area. And this is a great tool that's used during ceremonies, as well as keep the fire going. So it's multi-purpose. Okay, So I'm going to tap into some of tools that I have seen used also before getting into the plant medicine stuff. So one, where do I want to head? Before getting into, well, no, I've already kind of led with the WIDA. So another tool during such as like ayahuasca ceremonies and different South American ceremonies is rapacito or rape, and it's spelled H-A-P-E, and basically it's a and I'm not promoting tobacco to anyone. This is a snuff that's blown up the nose, and it is a mixture of ash from certain trees mixed with tobacco. We chop upacho, which is a strong tobacco from South America, and they mix it together in such a fine, microfine way that it doesn't really hurt the nose unless blown too hard. And they'll take a device such as this, like a caripa, and that caripa, the long part goes into the nose. Oh, dust. Don't do that. So you blow through one side, and the tobacco, the rape that you put in here, gets blown into the nose. And you do that for both sides. And usually, traditionally, you'll say a prayer before doing it. It sets the intention of why you're connecting with this medicine. And what rape does is it kind of clears your nostrils. It does. Two, it clears your brain to help focus on the medicine you're about to partake. So usually that is given before a ceremony, or if you are doing it outside of a ceremony, it's more so of a prayer that you're connecting. And I'm going to go into that next. So there's to many different tribes, there's 4 different sacred plant medicines. At least in North America, there's the sacred 4, which is tobacco, sweetgrass, white sage, and cedar. And cedar, sweetgrass, white sage are very purifying. Now the tobacco, and purifying and cleansing. Tobacco, on the other hand, it is not just a healer, so to speak, but it's also a message carrier. Think of it like your FedEx to the spirit world. And again, I'm not promoting tobacco, but this is a relationship that many Taita shamans, healers have with these plant medicines. So the tobacco and the rape is it is a very healing as well as purgative, as it causes you to clear out your nose and clear your thoughts of things, as well as attune yourself with the work in hand. And there's different blends of rape. I have a friend that has his own website. He travels back and forth to South America, and so he's got tons of different blends from different tribes, and the different medicines mixed with the tobacco defines kind of like the intention, purpose, and what it can help heal or help you with. And again, these were passed down, these properties were passed down from these shamans, these healers, working with the plant medicine, helping create that connection and relationship. Okay, so next, this is that friend I was speaking of. He also sells like a spray, and it's like you might have seen it in like South American shops around the U.S., like Florida water is what they called it. It's like a cleansing spray, and this one has many different herbs mixed with it that have cleansing properties, healing properties, and so it's a great spray that during ceremony, usually they'll put some on their hand, and kind of, it's almost like an anointing, but it's also a healing thing, and you spray it around. And so this is another tool used. And okay, so as I said before, that tobacco is a way to carry a message to the spirit world, and I've learned this through a taita, or a couple, a taita and a maestra. They had, as well as, let me step back, there was also a group, a Lakota group, that came to this Native American church I stayed at for a little while. And they had also brought the same tradition of how tobacco is like a prayer to the spirit world. And so today, how do you, and it's not through cigarettes, it's like, I don't want to, again, tobacco is tobacco, but cigarettes have so many different chemicals in the tobacco that it kind of hinders that tradition. So another route to go is through cigars, and this is how I learned about that aspect of spirituality and building that relation with tobacco. And there's even a way to hold it all, and so I'll explain it. So you take the tobacco, or you take the cigar, and with these, you have to have a clipper, but you'll hold it here, say your intention and prayer of why you're smoking it, why you're taking part in this kind of like a small ritual with this tobacco, like why you're making it sacred, you're bringing that sacredness to it. And so when you light it, and this is what I do, and this is what I've learned in my walk, is after you light it, you take a puff in all 7 directions, and that honors the spirit world in all 7 directions, and that's like north, south, east, west, up, down, and within. And so by doing that, you're kind of opening the doors in all those directions, and starting the rite. And then whenever you do smoke, you always hold it in your left hand and down by your chest. And the reason for that is because it's the closest to your heart, where you hold it. And so you're keeping it in that heart location as you go through it. And traditionally for myself, I'll start saying prayers as I puff, and giving thanks to family, friends, relations, giving thanks to all my teachers, the plant kingdom, the standing ones, winged ones, 4-leggeds, 2-leggeds, all the different aspects of creation that gives us opportunity. And then I'll call out to different aspects of the divine, and I'll just sit in silence, and often I'll get a lot of clarity. I'll start getting a lot of information about different things that I need to focus on, or different ways to look at things, and reminders. And so it's a great way for me to stay in tune with clarity, and also reach out and give prayers. And often when I have I will tend to only smoke them if I have a rite I did, or something that happened, big change in life that I really need to pray on. And how I developed my own personal relationship with tobacco is I took part in a tobacco ceremony, and this was multiple times before an ayahuasca ceremony, and I don't recommend it for the weak of heart, but it does build a relationship to the tobacco and honoring the sacredness of it. And let me think, should I share that? Yeah. So how the tobacco ceremony starts is, and this happens quite often in South America, they'll put on these ceremonies before an ayahuasca event, and that helps clear you out to receive the plant medicine of Aya. And so what they'll do is they'll boil a pot of water with the leaves of tobacco, like the big vat, and until the water turns really brown and murky and black. And then they'll scoop, with a giant ladle, and they'll pour everyone participating a giant cup of that water. And what they'll do is they'll have you drink that entire cup, and oftentimes you will throw up. It will not agree with your system, and it'll help purge out all that stuff. And then after that, then the next step is they'll have everyone take a cigar, and then they'll break it in half, and you'll keep the second half for after. And then the first half of it, they'll have you break that again, and then put one on one side of your mouth and then one on the other side of the mouth, and you'll chew. Now, you're not supposed to swallow. You're just supposed to chew the tobacco leaves, and just chew on it, and then that residual, that drip, from your saliva is what you slowly, take into your system. And you just chew on that for, it felt like an eternity, but it was only like 10 minutes. And then we would spit that out. And then we would drink one more giant cup of water of the tobacco. And by that time, you either purged it out again, or if you didn't purge it, you could have a hard time. And so thankfully I purged again. But what was wild was I felt very sick after that second purge. But then they have you say a prayer and smoke with that first half or the second half of the cigar. And as I was smoking the second half of the cigar, I started to feel better. My body felt healthier. I felt invigorated. I felt like the tobacco is actually healing something deep inside. And it's after smoking that, I felt so cleansed and so purified. It was like a purifying feeling. And so that is how they do this to help people. One, they do this to help people quit smoking, which I can understand. It's a grueling thing. So they do that to help people quit smoking, because what it's doing is it's disconnecting you from the addiction of it and connecting you to the sacred aspect of it. And when you, like with relationships, when you treat something sacred, you're not going to abuse it. You're not going to abuse tobacco. And even me, I'll smoke these, but it's like once every blue moon. I don't have a deep desire to go out and smoke every 15 minutes, or a deep desire to go smoke every day. Only in certain moments. It's a deep respect. So that is how, and there's actually, let me step back, there are tobacco shamans in South America too that will use the tobacco to heal people. They will, when they breathe in, they're also breathing in up here through the crown and pulling in the divine energy. And when they blow out with the smoke, it's carrying all that energy, kind of like carrying the messages. And when they blow it on the person, that helps clear them, cleanse them. It's a very sacred thing. Okay, so that is some of the plant medicine aspects and shamanism. And like again with rocks and crystals, there's necklaces out there with different properties. Okay, so moving along, I will go next into some of the more physical tools. And these tools I learned from an Apache healer. His name is William Twofeather. He's a very wise healer, very wise man, and very. I was his helper for a little bit, and I saw some miracles happen that just kind of blew my mind. And so I learned some of these techniques from watching him, as well as him having me do the same thing to help in the process of working on clients. And so one of the big tools that I've never thought of that would be actually a shamanic tool is the hand drum. And it can come in many forms. Here's one that's an owl. And this one I made out of elk. And it's a hand drum is what it's called. And normally you think of a hand drum, you think of it keeping the heartbeat rhythm of a ceremony. It also keeps when you go into a meditative state or a spiritual journey, often shamans will use this to get themselves into that vibratory state of consciousness, to go out of themselves into the spirit world. And so that is the traditional, Hollywood version of use. Now it is an actual practical use, but what I'm saying is like it's more what's seen from the use of these. Now what I learned, and I had no idea, was that this is used as a device, a way to break up stagnant energy in someone, to break up a blockage in the body, like the energetic body. Because if you go back to the idea that all things are atoms, all things are molecules floating around us, they're all made up of energy, and that energy has a subtle and dense layer, and when energies slow down, they become sluggish, they become crystallized or hardened to where it doesn't allow proper things in your body to flow, and that's when disease happens. That's when different illnesses seep in, because there's that blockage to your cells that are not able to do their properly function. So how does this work? So what I learned is you would hold up the drum like this, and you have a beater, that's what it's called, and you would And I did not heat this drum up, so I'm not going to do that again. But normally you would want to heat it up, and then you would walk around the body and like a kind of like a cross function, and you would beat for a period of time. And what that does is, like, for a good 10-15 minutes, you would break up all the energy. And then the next step, and what I saw, was cleansing with white sage. And so the drum has that powerful function of breaking up energy in the body. That's one powerful tool. So then that's I'm not going to go into too much detail because I respect his pathworking tradition, and some things are left for the shaman and the healer. And although I was his helper on multiple occasions, I have great respects. And so the other tool that went along with these ceremonies is the rattle. And you've heard, you might have seen it in different Hollywood episodes of using a rattle and shamanism, and people think of it as a noisemaker, but it's a lot more than that. So this one was gifted to me by a friend named Carla, and it's from the Hopi tribe. And what this is used for is, after you break up the energy in the body, then they would go over with a tool such as this. And they would go also with a feather. Because Two Feather was Native American, he had access to eagle feathers and different sacred feathers that he used in his practice. He had beautiful wings of these birds that would use to sweep over and cleanse the body or cleanse the energies that were broken up after that drum. And then we would go through, and using the rattle, we would shake the rattle over an area of the body that the person was experiencing pain. And what this does is it opens up the auric field. So you would rattle in that area and then swoop down with the feather and scoop out, with intention, that sluggish energy, or that crystallized energy that's there that needs to come out. And you would continue that for a period of time, same with the drumming. And that is one of the ways that this is used, the rattle, is it opens up the auric field. And then along with feathers, some of the other tools that he had that I don't have are tools made out of bone and animal bone. And he would actually have like a T-bone, and then in between, in the middle, were razors. And so what he would use that for is going deep and scraping off any energy that he had, that the person had, that was kind of blocking it. And even after the drumming, if it wasn't able to come off, then with those tools we would energetically scrape and cleanse off. And then the bones that were used were animal ally bones that he has that relationship with the spirit of those animals to help in the work. And the ideology behind it is the beginning of every ceremony, it was a calling to the spirit doctors, calling to the divine to help work on the clients. And basically what that meant is those spirit doctors flowing through him to help show him what he needs to do to help heal that person. And again, I saw so many miracles. Like one person, his whole life would hop all the time because of a certain condition. And after working on him, he got off that table and walked straight. And this, no hop at all. It was this, wow, it was a miracle. So things like that. Using, and again, it all ties to relationship. Having a relationship with the elk of the hide, having a relationship to the bones, having a relationship to the feathers, the elements, all things around you that can help in your practice to help heal or bring clarity when needed. Okay, so moving along is the next one is divination. Now this is more seen in, this isn't just witchcraft, this isn't just Wicca, this isn't just ceremonial, it's not just shamanistic, but it's all belief systems. Even I've seen Christian card readers, and basically they're asking, they're putting that door out to God, hey, can you help through the cards? Help kind of bring clarity to a situation. And that's what tarot cards are. Now, other devices out there, tools, are like runes. Runes can be found on stones. You can bake them and create them. I have some runes that I stamp on leather. I'll tell a secret. I have like a 50-cent piece, which is a perfect round circle. And then all you need to get is some pig leather, and you would create these circles using the 50-cent piece and then cut them out. And then Tandy, not promoting, but Tandy has a rune stamp kit that has all the runes. And then you just water or put a little water on the leather and then stamp the rune onto it. And then they also sell these hole punches that have those little eyelets that make it into a necklace. And then you can wear like the runes. And runes, if you're not familiar with them, are the Elder Futhark. They're the myth behind them is Odin hung himself under the tree and to gain access to their wisdom. And the runes are not just used on burial stones and the Scandinavian Highlands, but they also are divinational, and they help kind of bring clarity on path working. And often people have a bag of them, and then you'll draw one out. Or same with bones, like bones with different symbols on them. They'll throw them onto the ground, and basically it'll tell a story of what's to come, or whatever the question was, the intention. And so runes are very powerful in that. I do have a story. When I was way younger and first getting into this stuff, I thought it was a great idea to paint runes on my wall. And so I did so. I painted Wunjo and different ones. Now, there's one rune in particular, and it's called Rado. Now, Rado looks like an R, but what it symbolizes is the soul spirit travel after death. Basically, it's a rune to kind of help you understand either little deaths that you need to work through, like getting rid of things that are bad habits, but also it's like a gate for working with the spirit world and that after travel. So I had put this rune on the wall that was right next to my bed, as well as on the other side was the living room where there was a couch. And it was after I used like an acrylic chalk to paint them on, and I, not thinking, when you push on something, you're putting your energy into it. And so as I was pushing on the walls, drawing these runes, typically sigils, which sigils, as you know, are keys and doors, I was basically putting my energy into these runes on these walls. And I knew something was up when the three cats in the house came in the room and were jumping up on the wall where one of the runes was. They kept leaping up to it, trying to get it. And I'm like, what is going on? And then it wasn't until that night that my roommates, they felt this very cold energy where they were sitting on the couch in the living room. They felt this very cold vibe. And I remember this day, I walked in my room and a painting went flying off the wall across the room. And it felt very icy cold in there. And I'm like, okay, that was a poltergeist. So I just like opened up a door. So I quickly got to work. I took that chalk and turned the R into a B. I just did like a cross. And immediately that energy dissipated. Like that coldness went away. And of course I used white sage to clear it quickly. And because B in the runes is Bracana, which means growth. So it changed the intention of that rune. So that's what I'm saying. Runes can be very powerful and have their own properties, potential, and you can go off and look into it if you're interested, but I don't recommend drawing them on your wall. Just saying. So that is the runes. And so other aspects of shamanism is that tools can be many, but do you need any of these? No. But do they help? Yes. And do they, they say you need a tribe. You need a tribe. And to a shaman, he might not always have a tribe, but he has his tools, which is his tribe. And so he brings with him his relations. They say to all my relations. It's to all his relations and his tools, his animal allies, his spirit allies, his plant allies. It all comes together as one big tribe of his own. And then he or she, as many, if not most shamans out there I met on my travels were female, not male. Most were female and very powerful women, with wise women, with great medicine that they brought. I mean, shoot, laughter is one of the greatest medicines. And I learned that, I was reminded by that, years ago. I was reminded from a shaman working with Coyote, and Coyote chasing his tail, and how we chase our tail often on things that we can't get over, or things that we're afraid of, or things that we're, it's funny, if we stop and see ourselves running around in circles, chasing ourselves, then, you can laugh about it and release that cycle. But for my son the other day was telling jokes we were on this trail in Washington, and he kept telling these jokes to everybody he walked past. And at the end of our hike, I asked him, why did you do that? That was so interesting. And he said, Dad, you have to be social. You have to spread the peace through laughter. And I was reminded how he's carrying that medicine, that laughter. And so that was, and every person he talked to, they would walk away with this huge grin, this huge smile. excited about the hike and just heard one of the craziest dad jokes that they've heard. And so he, it was amazing to see, from my son, but also amazing that, he's carrying that medicine of laughter. And so you too, everybody can carry the medicine of laughter. And that was a peyote shaman, very wise woman. She once said, one of the greatest poisons out there is we can do something that other people can't. And if you think about that, we all have the potential to do things. Now, will we choose to do it? Yes, no. But we all have the potential, and we all have to see everybody as having that potential. That's the divine walk, is seeing everyone within us and everyone, outside of us. And the concept that is poison, it's real easy to get into that rank or that idea of greater than. And when you do that, sure, you want to push yourself you want to be the greatest in what you do. So that's confidence. And you want to push yourself to a higher level of potential. But to treat others, that's a great disrespect. That way, to treat others that they lack, that they can't do it. And again, I said this in my past video, there could be situations where, some people can't talk, can't walk, don't have arms, don't have, appendages, that make it harder. But when it comes down to it, doing this work, it's a calling, but anybody can do it if they feel called to it and they want to, take that drive to go that distance and build those relations with, the kingdoms, all the plant kingdoms, the rock kingdoms, the human kingdom. It's a lot of work, but it's a beautiful practice. And this ends my part 3 on the tools. Now I am going to have a part 4 that is going to describe all the tools that I've discovered in the left-hand path, working with the Temple of Ascending Flame and working with various groups over the years that practice left-hand path magic. They do, there's no they to us, but there's a bunch of tools out there that is used that is not used in shamanism and ceremonial or Wicca. And that'll be in part 4. If you liked this video and look forward to seeing more stuff provided by me, hit like and subscribe. But until then, safe travels always.